So you found my channel, but you thought, man, I like this guy's content, but I'm just not going to subscribe. I'm just going to watch the stuff and then leave. You couldn't just click the button. You just had to, you'd watch the thing and then you'd go. Is that what it is? Not gonna leave old Mr. Hyde Rager a subscription? You're better than that, huh? Okay. That's fine. That's fine. So like I say, the first video we're going to check out is it's a video by Game Ranks. It's just the video, the games that are coming out in the next month. And we'll talk a little bit about what I want to check out with those. So let's see if I can get the
February is coming up quick, and there are a lot of new games to play. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the top 10 new games of February 2022. Starting off with number 10, Martha is Dead, a first-person horror game set in 1944 Italy, in which you play the twin of Martha, who was just found as dead. You have to deal with
Why did you say that name?
As well as deal with the tragedy of war. This obviously exists on the backdrop of an escalating conflict, but it goes further than that. This is a horror game that incorporates elements of folklore, superstition, and takes place in a real recreation of Tuscany, which is not only beautiful, but at night is pretty scary looking. What's interesting too is that the voice acting is in Italian by default. Obviously there's subtitles because the vast majority of people who play the game probably won't be Italian, but it looks like a really unique project that has gotten a ton of really good feedback from every outlet I've seen that's played it. We haven't gotten our hands on it, but we're very interested. We will be playing Martha is Dead when it lands on PC
will not be
on
playing
February
that game,
24th.
just to be clear.
At number 9 is Crossfire X, the Xbox exclusive console version of Crossfire, which came out all the way back in 2007. Now, the original Crossfire is still a really popular free-to-play multiplayer game along the lines of CSGO, and the multiplayer segments of this game retain the free-to-play. However, Crossfire X also...
Apparently it's got, and I'm sure he'll talk about it here in a second, but apparently it's got like three or four different kinds of like gameplay modes. One of them's like a CSGO almost, and then the other one's more of like a Call of Duty, like fast-paced shooter. So I'm intrigued. I don't know if it's not going to be free to play. I don't know how much I'd spend on it, but it looks interesting.
Also contains a single-player campaign, which was developed by Remedy and uses the same engine from Quantum Break and Control. They have been working on this single-player campaign since 2016, and this really sets this version of the game apart by a lot because it's not a series focused on story. Apparently, the single-player portion is going to be inspired by Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil, and is intended to be larger than life in its characterization, and I'm pretty interested in that. Remedy obviously does a great job with creating very unique scenarios and worlds, so it should be interesting to see exactly how this turns out when it lands exclusively on Xbox One and Xbox Series X February 10th.
The story of that game looks like every FPS ever combined. Like, it's got Crysis, it's got Call of Duty, it's got fucking CSGO.
At number 8 is Sifu, a beat-em-up action-adventure game that comes by way of French studio Slowclap. So, the story itself probably isn't going to knock your socks off. A kung fu student sets out to get revenge on 5 assassins
I've seen gameplay videos
family,
for this.
but it has a few interesting twists that make me pretty interested in it. First, the art style's great. Like, just looking at the game, definitely
this game's one of those games where, like,
city it's set in,
from what I've seen of it,
lights,
I wish they would make
but kind of gritty art style,
Daredevil
and the
game
combat
like
looks
this.
really enjoyable. Now, here's where I think the real interesting thing comes in. In this game, when you die,
this shot right. What did I do?
This
shot right here is just like
I think the real
long
interesting
take from
thing
the
comes
first season
in.
Daredevil.
In this game, when you die,
That
your
would be so
resurrection is
fucking sick.
justified not just by having extra lives, but you have a talisman that raises you from the dead whenever you're killed in combat. But when it does this, you age a certain number of years and eventually die when you get too old. Not only is this cool because it kind of provides a story reason why you're able to continue after you get killed in a fight, but it also provides a chance to have some distinct
My
disadvantages.
only problem with it is it's one of those
as
games
you
where
die, incentivizing you not to. And apparently the
like
game
would I like to
features
check it out?
over
Yes. Do I think I'm
150
gonna
unique
buy it
attacks.
brand
Sifu's
new?
coming out
Nah.
on Windows,
This might be
PlayStation
one of those
4
ones
and
that I wait
5
for a sale on, but
February
still,
8th.
it looks dope.
At number 7 is Destiny 2's expansion, The Witch Queen,
Yeah, I
which
just don't
adds a
give a
number
fuck
of
about this at all.
significant changes. First, there's obviously a full entire new area
Like,
in which
I don't
there
care
is a
about
new
Destiny.
bad guy,
I'm sorry.
the Witch
I
Queen,
played
the
it,
sister
didn't
of
enjoy
the
it.
Taken King. There's also going to be 4 seasons of this game, meaning there will be more content on top of what you get at the start. It will also include the ability for the player to
I
modify
think,
various light
honestly,
powers
part of
by
the
mixing
reason I
and
feel
matching
like that
effects
is
on top of them.
how
There's
bad they
also
fucked up
going
the
to be
first
new
game.
darkness powers,
Like, I've just
but
been
that will
permanently
be
soured
later
on it.
in the Witch Queen's life cycle. And probably the next most important addition is a new weapon type, the glaive, which is both melee and short range, and will have customizable abilities. Now, Destiny 2 has gotten better about story content as it's gone along,
And
so
I
I
think
would
that's maybe
suggest
one of
this
my
is
problems
probably
is, like,
going to be along those lines. Destiny
when I
2
see
The Witch
this on the
Queen is
screen,
coming to
like,
Windows,
the
the
amount of effects
PlayStations, and
and,
the
like,
Xboxes on February
capes and
22nd.
pointy shit coming out of people. I
And
don't know
number
what the
6
fuck's
is
going on.
Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, which is
I don't know if
well,
I'm in the
what
like
looks
minority
like a
with that, but
much better version of Dynasty Warriors 9 in that it drops the open world format entirely. If you remember back a few years ago when I did the review of Dynasty Warriors 9, is basically the combat's great, aspects of this game are great, but the open world makes it basically unbearable to play. It was so boring,
I've
so
never played a Dynasty
bland
Warriors game.
that the parts that were good
I've
weren't
heard great
worth
things,
the
I've
game.
just never
That
played
problem
them.
is now completely gone. It's back to stages, just like Dynasty Warriors is supposed to be, and will incorporate mechanical updates
I've got,
from the lifespan of Dynasty Warriors
Zelda Breath of
9,
the Wild,
as well as
Hyrule
further
Warriors,
enhancing the
and I
creative
have
character
never
system
played
with
it.
a lot
I've
of
owned that game for
flexibility
over a
and
year and never even
customization.
booted
Now,
it
if you're
up.
familiar with previous Empires versions of Dynasty Warriors games, they do add a few things as well. Like, for instance, the Ways of Life feature from the previous Empires games will be here, which determines whether or not you're a good ruler or an evil tyrant. Honestly, it just seems like the version of this game that probably should have existed
This
in the
just
first
looks like
place
Final
with
Fantasy
the
from, like,
Empire stuff mixed
10
in.
years
Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is coming to the PlayStation,
it's
the
like a beat 'em up.
Xboxes, Windows, and Nintendo Switch on February 15th. At number 5 is Total War Warhammer 3, which is a turn-based strategy real-time tactics hybrid, obviously given the Total War banner. Now, there's actually not a lot
This one
known
looks
about the
interesting, but,
campaign, other than it takes place in the realm of
I'm
chaos,
just not good
which
at
is
RTS,
kind of the
so,
source of all magic in Warhammer Fantasy. It is a
I don't
lot
know.
bigger than Total War Warhammer 2, apparently double the size of the previous map.
I feel
Obviously,
like
it's Total War.
the other thing
Sega
is,
knows
too,
what
like,
they're doing. They
while
bought
I'm not good
Creative
at
Assembly
RTSs, I've
for
got,
a
like,
reason.
3 in my
These are
backlog
good
that I would
games,
probably
and to
play
keep
first.
certain things close to the chest before
wanna
release,
try out
I
that
think that's a
new,
great idea. It's Total War. It's
what's the
Warhammer,
name of that
of
game?
course.
Humankind.
Total War Warhammer 3 lands on
I've heard
PC
really good
February
things about it.
17th.
Just haven't checked it out.
At number 4 is The King of Fighters 15, the first entry in the team-based, old-school fighting franchise to use Unreal Engine, and it definitely looks great. Now, if you're unfamiliar, King of Fighters is a game where you have 3 different fighters on a team, you can alternate between them, and it has a few little tricks up its sleeve to be unique from other fighting games. For one, its parry system is fairly specific, and that is
feel
bad.
like
But this is basically an
Wasn't
old
there
school
one of these that
brawler
came
along
out,
the lines
like,
of Street Fighter and comes from that same
7 or
era.
8 years
the story is
ago, and it
actually a
had, like,
continuation of the
Master
previous
Chief
King of
and
Fighters
Arbiter
and
in it.
revolves around the mayhem the creature caused
I feel
and
like that was
how
a thing,
two
but I
fighters
can't
with
remember.
supernatural powers, Shun A and Isla, deal with that. But of course, there's a lot of other fighters. This is not just a single player game. It's clearly designed for multiplayer. That's like the bread and butter of fighting games.
Isn't that
It's
Ken
going to
from
launch
Street
with
Fighter?
40 characters as well as 4 more teams of 12 fighters being planned for later. The King of Fighters 15 looks great. It's coming out on the Xboxes, the PlayStations, and Windows
Looks
on
like
February
every anime
17th.
ever.
And number 3 is Dying Light 2 Stay Human,
This
an
one I'm excited
action
for.
role-playing survival
This
horror
looks
game
crazy
set
good.
in a very big open-world zombie apocalypse. It's
My
20
problem
years
is
after
I
the
think the
first game.
zombies
There's
will
a
make me
new
shit my
protagonist. The parkour has been expanded significantly,
That's
and
real.
the storytelling component is supposedly more interactive than it's ever been. Now, this is a game that has been through a large number of delays, including one back in December when it seemed like it was going to release. Hopefully, the approach that they came up
some
with, this
big
narrative
motherfucker like that
sandbox,
jumps on my
ends up
character and
playing
shits
out,
pants.
and the new modern dark ages that everyone's living in turns out to be an incredibly interesting one that isn't just a big parkour open world with zombies in it. If Techland pulls it off,
I'd be
Dying
fine
Light
with a
2
big
Stay
open world with
Human should
zombies
be
in it.
pretty darn good when it comes out on PlayStation, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
It's coming out on
February 4th.
Switch? What the fuck?
At number 2, Horizon Forbidden West is the sequel to the very well received
I
and
never
well
finished the
liked
first one.
Horizon Zero Dawn, which was, for all intents and
I
purposes,
should.
really
I
a
should finish it.
good-looking
I've got
game
it
that
for
gave us a
PC.
very interesting open world to explore that wasn't just filled with amazing organic structures and the remains of
'Cause
a
I don't-
human
I don't
world
know enough
grown
about the
over
story
with
to know,
plants,
like-
but also robot dinosaurs. That's all been
Pardon me.
expanded on,
Jesus, fuck.
of course,
Um,
as
I don't
players
know,
go
like,
west to see more
I
of
haven't
the
ever
human
gotten
world
far
as
enough
it
in the game
once
to figure
was,
out why there
grown
are,
over
like,
into this
giant
version.
robot
It is
dinosaurs and
an
shit.
amazing looking game, and frankly one that we just really want to play. Horizon Forbidden West is coming to the PlayStations February 18th. And
Like,
finally,
not only
at
is it
number 1,
crazy, not only is it crazy that the game has giant robot dinosaurs, but whoever the fuck made the giant robot dinosaurs thought to give them like chainsaw mouths and shit. It's like that's a bit much.
it's Elden Ring, the action RPG that continues the Dark Souls tradition in an open world.
I'm
Now,
interested in
that's
this one.
pretty much the entire sales pitch right there. This
Loosely,
is
I
a
should say.
huge, varied world that you do
Like-
Dark Souls in. Now, there is one big curveball
My problem
in that
with,
George R.R. Martin, the
these
author
games is
of
that
the
they're
Game of
so
Thrones
goddamn
series,
hard, and I'm just
collaborated
not
with
that
From
great at video
Software on the
games that,
game's
like,
story, so there's likely a fair amount
feel like at a
of
certain point, I'm
different
just gonna be miserable
ideas
trying to play the
there.
fucking
But
game.
from everything we've seen about the game, including its test, this
Might be
is
good for
very
stream,
much
actually, though.
a natural
See me get
evolution of
the
Dark
shit stomped
Souls,
out of
and
myself.
if it branches off into its own series, Elden Ring could be quite epic. That lands on the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC February 25th. We've also got a couple of bonus games for you in
Bonus
Grid Legends,
games!
a racing game actually inspired by a Netflix documentary. It's also another entry into the Grid series, which is a very good racing series from Codemasters. This, however, is the first installment published by Electronic Arts. That's coming to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC on February 25th. And Ali Ali World, a 2D skateboarding
Ooh,
game
I
with
like
a
the old
sort
Ali
of
Ali.
Jet Set Radio meets Adventure
Pretty
Time
cool.
aesthetic, and makes a jump for the series out of pixel art and into a more cartoony style. Ali Ali World comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Nintendo Switch, and PC on February 8th. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know.
So I'm gonna keep it a stack, boys. There's a lot less exciting on that list than I thought there was gonna be. I definitely, like I said before, I absolutely want to check out Dying Light. Obviously, Pokemon comes out tomorrow. That's gonna be huge. That's gonna take up a good chunk of my time. Maybe I'll check out Crossfire X. Maybe. But But that's those were the big ones on that list. Elden Ring, I would check out for sure. Again, my problem with those games is I don't like getting my cheeks clapped nonstop. Like, it's one thing to have a little fun, a little wine dine 69, but hours upon hour. I think they said it's a 50-hour game. Like, and that means for me to actually beat it, it would be like 150 hours of just merciless pegging. I don't know.